So I was tasked to review a movie. I don't normally do this. I have no idea how to actually do this. I don't know how to get past copyright ID to actually show you clips of said movie, and I have no idea how to actually review movies. But one of my patrons made the request for the month that I review a movie and sent me the movie. So I'm going to start off by saying this is Your Name, the Funimation version. I watched the English dub, but with English subtitles, which are still the subtitles for the Japanese version of the movie. I know some people are going to be like, you watched the dub? I'm going to be like, I don't speak Japanese. I want to be able to look away from the screen for 5 seconds and take a drink of my water. So if a dub's available, I'm going to watch the dub. It's intriguing. It's a very Japanese religious philosophical concept of how time works. Now it is a generic Japanese teenager movie, so the characters aren't exactly super memorable. I'm going to remember the concept of this movie, yes, but I'm not going to remember these two characters' names in 2 weeks. I'm going to say this outright. There's nothing super definable about Taki or Mitsuchi. Yeah. There's nothing. I have a really hard time pronouncing some words because Southern and broken jaw stuff. But there's nothing really remarkable about these two characters. They're generic blank slates. They're generic Japanese people. There's nothing that super remarkable, super interesting about them. They're a backdrop, really. Whenever I look at the characters of this movie, they are a backdrop. Everyone in here is a stereotypical individual. There's nothing that makes them particularly identifiable or shine, but there's nothing that makes them particularly alien or unexpected. So you just assume they're supposed to be that way. I feel like you could just switch their names with any other name you wanted, and these two characters would still be fine. Some of the more interesting characters, Tessie, or Tensei, or Tessei, that's his name, Tessei, the construction worker with the explosives. I mean, that was really freaking cool. And he just had a distinctive personality through the whole thing. He showed up and I'm like, oh, it's the bike kid, and then he actually talked. Taki's friends, whose names I can't remember because they're only said twice in the entire movie, they actually have a much more distinctive personality than Taki. I think that's intentional, but it doesn't play well for your movie when I don't remember your main characters very well. I just watched this 2 hours ago. This is my third viewing of this film, and I still don't think these two characters stand very well on their own. Now, that said, the movie itself is great. There's this excellent Freaky Friday style setup that you see described on the back of the box here. So I'm not giving you major spoilers. It is a very interesting Freaky Friday. Freaky Friday being a term in which two people switch mind and soul, and effectively become each other for the day, where their bodies are they switch bodies. So I would become my little brother, and my little brother would become me for the day, and they don't think it's real at first. They think it's a dream, and they're not dreaming. What's really happening is this Japanese god, Mitsuya. That's how you pronounce her name, Mitsuya. This Japanese god of time has stepped in to save someone who is still committed to going out to his relic and giving him an offering. And the concept is that they are switching bodies, but they're 3 years apart, and one of them is dead. They don't know this. Trying to find each other, they're trying to find each other across an event that takes place across the cosmos itself. And from there, the story plays out. It's definitely a much more self-insertion type of story where you could just insert yourself into one of the two characters and just be that character. Which I think is one of the reasons why it has a very good appeal. It's not something that you can do with every movie. It's not something you can do with every anime. You can't see yourself as being Inuyasha. He has his own distinctive personality. You can't really see yourself as being Kagome. He has his own distinctive personality. Moroku, and so that's characters from Inuyasha. But like if you looked at like Gundam, a lot of people could just be Hiro Yui because Hiro Yui has no personality. Just being honest, he's just a backdrop to put into a mobile suit from Gundam Wing. Whereas Duo is definitely a distinctive character, as is Katra and I forget the Heavy Arms pilot. The Heavy Arms pilot, though, he's just as quiet as Yui, but he has a personality there, whereas Yui is just a blank slate. And you can tell the difference. And I think that's one of the things that this movie kind of suffers from is the two characters. If the two characters had some more development in them, and the movie's only 107 minutes long. It's an hour and 47 minutes. You could have packed 5-10 more minutes for each character of character development in here, and it would have been reasonable. I am going to say that the way everything is brought together, though, the overall plot, as it were, is very well designed. And it really appeals to your humanity, your inner self and your inner need to preserve not only yourself, but the others around you. Your need to make sure that community isn't destroyed, that it isn't lost, that this sense of history and tradition combined with the modern fantasy to progress forward come together to stop something potentially horrendous from happening. Because when you have the power to act, why do you not act? And that's what I kind of get from this film, is if you have the power, why are you not exercising it? And instead, as soon as they realize they have the power, they exercise their agency to help others and to take actions that, on blind faith in some cases, is a hope that will save an entire town. I keep looking at the film box and I'm sorry. So, there's that. This is a beautiful film, but it's also a very Japanese film. It's very much a film in which the mystery of the individual must remain because you must help the greater whole. So they're constantly learning about each other's lives, but they're never directly talking to each other. And even at the end of the film, they're not even sure who the other one is. They've lived in each other's bodies, and they're not even sure who the other one is because to them it was a dream. And that's a really, psychedelically trippy concept. Yes, towards about Act 3 of the film of My Name, I was on the floor, getting closer and closer to the TV, and my attention was completely diverted at the TV. I'm gonna say that. So, Act 1 is what you would expect from any anime. Like every anime, Act 1 is awkward exposition, figuring out the plot line, showing you the world they live in, showing you how it's supposed to work, showing any fanciful elements, and showing you the time in which it takes place. And by time, I mean the era of Japan. It's kind of like the first 5 episodes of Ruby are just explaining the world, and the rest of it's the cool part. Or it's like the first 5 episodes of Agretzko. I'm trying to think of American-made animes. The first 2 or 3 episodes of Agretzko are just, here, I'm going to explain Agretzko. And now we're going to have fun with it. And now we're going to have our overarching plot as things evolve. Same thing. This is definitely a very structured film. This is very... Not that that's a bad thing. It's just it definitely has a beginning where they're just explaining the world. It has a middle where they're just living in that world. And then the plot happens. And everything suddenly accelerates to 300. And it doesn't slow down. And they don't take their foot off the accelerator. Except for just to play with your heart a little bit. Which is a problem. This is the problem I'm getting to. As a human being, yes, this appeals to me. This is something I would tell people, hey, this is cool, go watch it. But once you watch it a couple times, it's just going to end up on your shelf. It's not something I'm going to talk about next year. It's not something I'm going to recommend people go see over Howl's Moving Castle. It's not something I'm going to recommend people go see over Dragon Ball Abridged. It's not something I'm going to recommend people go see over Princess Mononoke. It's not something I'm going to recommend people go see over Agretzko. If I had to choose between 107 minutes of this and 107 minutes of Agretzko, I'd be going with 107 minutes of Agretzko. It's a good anime, but that's just it. There's a lot of good animes. It's not like this is so amazing that I would regret missing it. Now, that much said, it is worth $20. Like, it's a decent anime. It's something that you can sit down and watch with your friends. If you have anime view nights, this would be great to bring to it maybe once on every 5-6 months, you know, especially when you get new people. This would be great to bring to an anime view night. But this is not necessarily in my regular anime repertoire. And again, it's a good film, but it's not an epic for the ages. And again, it's not something that appeals drastically cross-culturally. Like a normal just American who doesn't watch anime, watching this, if you try to introduce them with this anime, they're not going to come back and watch anime. They're going to be confused. This definitely has the prerequisite of you need to have watched several animes before you sit down and try to view this. Otherwise, you're just going to be a little confused, and you're not going to be sure if you want to continue. That being said, once you've watched some things, it's pretty good. Now, me personally, Gun Gale Online, not Sword Art Online. I'd be confused with that, but the one in which, you know, the main character's this short little pink death girl with a submachine gun. Yeah, that's amazing. That's something recently I watched. Ponies, of course. Duh. I'm trying to think. Agretzko I've mentioned a few times. The first Appleseed. Like, those are animes that I will talk to people about and be like, let's go watch this shit. This is going to be something that's going to be like, hey, you want to watch anime? You seen this? Okay, let's just watch this. You see the difference. And I've described most of the plot without actually giving you outright spoilers. I've been trying to avoid those. Towards the end, there is definitely, like, the relationship between the two main characters has been earned. I mean, they've lived in each other's bodies several times for months, 2 or 3 times a week, according to the anime. They've been living in each other's bodies, leaving each other messages. They have done a lot of work exploring both aspects of what it's like to be in one character's body, what it's like to be in the other character's body, and then what it's like waking up to the messages from the person who was writing your face yesterday. And that's great. That's great character building. That's great relationship building. Like, genuinely speaking, I understand the draw towards each other at the end of the anime. What I don't understand is how they use the concept of a dream to make them forget each other. I'm sorry. Like, I tried to look up the legend this is based on, and the legend this is based on, they remembered each other. That's the problem I have. That's like the point where I lost immersion was when they forgot who the other one was. When they returned to their own bodies. I just lost immersion. And I'm like, okay, that's not how that works. And that's not how that legend is written. And that just seems like a cheesy cop-out. So, the last 10 minutes, I could have done without. Honestly. Because when you Freaky Friday with someone, you fucking remember that shit. I'm sorry. But every other version of Freaky Friday I've ever seen, they fucking remember and have a newfound respect for each other. This is about building a love relationship using a Freaky Friday. Great concept. You had great execution through most of it, and then you got to the last 5 minutes. And that last 5-10 minutes, your execution went to shit. And you brought it back in the last 2 minutes to be like worth watching. But it feels like the last... How should I describe this? The way it is played about forgetting each other's name doesn't work. It's played in such a way that it's supposed to pull at you, the audience member's heartstrings. But for me, it was just a kick in the face and an insult to my intelligence. I understand why it would play at someone's heartstrings like that, but for someone like me who's got years of human... Oh my god, glasses, will you stay on fucking... Oh, I get why you're not fucking sitting straight. The damn headphones aren't straight. There we go. Like, I get why it's still fucking crooked. I get why someone would this would appeal to someone on that level and why they would be upset and why they would be crying. But I feel like that last 5 or 10 minutes is just engineered to make you cry. And if you're like me and you've studied human communication, or you're very heavily jaded, or a combination thereof, and you understand how a relationship works, those last few minutes just feel disingenuous. And while it's physically trying to pull, it's trying too hard to pull at your heartstrings. And so for me, it just broke all immersion of the film and just made me not want to keep watching it. So, other than that, I enjoyed this. Other than that last couple minutes where they're trying too hard to make me upset. If they hadn't tried so hard to make me upset, this would have been glorious. But they just tried way too hard at the end to make me upset. You didn't have to make me upset. I was already upset. I was already feeling for these two blank slate characters at the end. Boy, you messed it up! And some of you may hate me for saying that, but you really did just mess it up by trying too hard to make me want to cry more. So, I mean, there's just this section of the film you can just skip because you're already mad. I look like Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. You're already mad. Just roll with the mad. Just roll with the crying. And just jump to the part where they find each other. Seriously. But that's my opinion. And opinions are sometimes like assholes. Everybody has one. Not everybody wants to smell yours. If you still want to check this out, I would. I would seriously check this out if you're a very big anime fan, or if you just like love stories. Especially with something with such a uniquely interesting twist that is thoroughly explored. Like, there's just like 40 minutes of this movie where they're just exploring the Freaky Friday twist. I'm not even kidding. And it's worth just sitting there being like, that's awesome. I wish more people would do this. I wish Freaky Friday would do this better. And then the plot hits. And when the plot hits, it gets to a very high crescendo very quickly. And then slams through the floor. And it never quite gets anywhere. And then just barely gets back above the line. To where the head is above the foundation. So really great start. Or, expected start. Really great middle. Terrible late movie and okay ending. There you go. So that's my opinion. You got 20 minutes of my opinion. If you sat here for the entire 20 minutes, awesome. If you sat here for the entire 20 minutes, book. In the comments, tell me what picture that is. Just so I know you sat here this long and I didn't say all of this for no goddamn reason. It's on page 270 if you have your own copy already. You can get copies of this in the description. And I did just release Chapter 30 on FemFiction, so you can see the first draft of Chapter 30. Of up to Chapter 30 right now, and there's only Chapter 20 in this. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a preview of a game called Mass. Let me double check, make sure the demo's still up. I really hope it is. If it's not, I'm going to be really upset. But yeah, Mass Builder demo. Still installed, still ready to go, still can be played. But yeah, I'm going to see you guys tomorrow for that. And in the meantime, good night, everybody.